All right, here we go. It is the BCJ podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com. I'm Chad Brendel. He's Dave Simone. As always, if you're down at the banks, get yourself to the Holy Grail. The dogs are excited. All you do, you say Holy Grail. You mention the Holy Grail in this house. The dogs start barking. So, yeah, that's where we're at, Dave. It is, we are 8 days into training camp. Good practice today. A lot of red zone today. Today was a red zone day. So we will get to that. We'll get to the star of today's practice. There was a star of today's practice, Dave.
All right.
Somebody had 4 pass breakups and 2 interceptions.
A different star than Tuesday night?
Somebody had 4 pass breakups and 2 interceptions today.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. You want to take a guess? Blow my nose real quick.
I mean, I already know who it is, but I will guess that it's JQ Hardaway.
Yes. Dan Hoard tweet about it.
I think you guys talked about it on the radio today.
We did talk about it I was on the radio today. That's right. That's right. Damn. So yeah, Dan Hoard talked about it on the radio today. So JQ is he's looking very, very good. So yeah, you had a chance. Let's start with you. You had a chance to get out on Tuesday night and take in practice. The people like hearing other, points of view from me since I'm the one that's providing that every day. So what did you take away from camp on Tuesday night?
Let's see. First off, it was we got real lucky with the weather.
Today was great too.
Well, I'm driving home. I drove through heavy storms, and apparently it literally went like just south of higher ground. So we did not get a raindrop, which was nice. But I think my big picture takeaway is the BLACKcats might not be going anywhere. They at least Tuesday night, that was about a sound of a butt kicking that you're going to see in just a regular practice setting. Not a scrimmage, like just over the course of the day. Anytime they went, teams, it was not pretty for the offense. I think the longer you go, the harder it gets on the offense, especially if you're not really mixing things up. Like, if you throw one running play in like every 7 plays, it's not conducive to them being successful. But like the frontline defensive line was outstanding across the board. Malik, Jowon, and Jabari, all very, very good. We've talked about it. I've been excited about it. And that excitement was reinforced with the play of the linebackers.
They're really good,
this group is really good. I mean, we already have a pretty darn good understanding of what Deshaun Pace and Ty Van Fossen can do. We have somewhat of an understanding, but it's still going to be new to Will Huber playing in the middle on like a virtually, every down basis. And then Jaheim Thomas jumped out to me, one, because he made a number switch that is awesome, and I wish more bigger people would wear single-digit numbers.
Like Malik with 4
Malik should
recently.
Definitely stay with 4.
He talked about it. I talked to him about it today a little bit after practice, just kind of messing around with them, and he's like, I think think it looks pretty good on me. I think I like it.
Definitely should stay with 4. But, and I had even, granted I was only a couple spring things, so I might not have noticed specifically because of maybe where we were standing or just where players were doing drills. But at higher ground, we're very lucky. They kind of give us the liberty to roam wherever we want as long as we stay out of the way. And I was kind of just on one of the sidelines at one point, and I guess it didn't register to me that Jaheim had switched numbers. So I looked down and I was like, oh, 7, Jaheim. And then I kind of did a double take. He is
big.
He is quite a different physique. Way, way more filled out. Way, way, way just different than even what people would probably remember seeing him in the spot, duty that he would get defensively last year.
He looks a lot different than what we saw in the spring.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't remember necessarily what it looked like in the spring, and maybe if I'd have been standing right next to him like I was Tuesday, it would have registered then and wouldn't have been as, not surprising, but just as noticeable Tuesday night. But man, he's put together, and then kind of unlike, and I say this in a joking fashion, but Ivan Pace is then kind of the opposite. You look at him out there,
he's trimmed down a lot.
He has, but just he's playing linebacker in just a mold that you don't really see anymore. You're looking for, long, lean, athletic, run sideline to sidelines type dudes. And he's more like a spark plug, but man,
right.
If the only thing he does all year is pressure up the middle, I'd be cool with it, because he had at least Tuesday night, had an unbelievable knack of shedding or slicing, and he was just literally always in the backfield, always around the ball on any run that they did. And you just have a lot of different guys at the linebacker spot that can do, they did I'm sure we'll get into it. To me, they did a lot of 4 down work. Now I don't know how much of that is going to happen when the season rolls around, but
I'll say this: we've seen it more than we have in the past 2.5 years.
Oh yeah, for sure. But you had several periods where that was the defensive choice. And you had Jaheim come down, you had Ivan. It was just kind of a lot of guys just rotating in and out of that linebacker spot. No real way to necessarily say who was getting the most looks, so to speak. It was a pretty heavy just rotation between the 1 and the 2s. One guys that would be 1s typically were with 2s and vice versa. Just a lot of interchangeable pieces there. But there's just a lot of athleticism, a lot of production, and a lot of intrigue from all of those guys. And then defensive back wise, they didn't really get tested because it felt like the quarterback never had any time to really do anything. So I'm trying to, remember back to anything specific defensive back wise, but nothing necessarily jumps out. Oh, other than Oliver Bridges is a freak of nature for a freshman.
Physically he's
size
a large human.
He's wearing number 47, and I don't want to be the one to break it to him and tell him 47 ain't no DB number, but
it's foreshadowing, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
He just
he might skip safety.
Oh, he's
usually it goes in order. He might skip safety.
He might skip linebacker and become a defensive end. You got Sam Hubbard situation on your hands.
That's a big kid. It's a big
but
kid.
Even when we talk about JQ in the realm of a DB that kind of looks like sauce, and he does stick out. Bridges sticks out to me even more because he is that height, but is also I think they listed him at like 202, and I'm like, there's no way that dude weighs 202. Like he just
202.
He just looks. He is big and put together, but I mean that's the thing though, is like there's no DB that stands out anymore because they're 5'9".
Right.
Like even the freshmen who aren't.
Ken Willis is small at like 6 foot.
Right. He's like 5'11", 6 foot. Like, and they're just small because they're not necessarily like developed yet, and they're still 18-year-old kids, could be 17-year-old kids. Who knows?
Right.
But like nobody, you're just like, man, there's no way that guy's going to be able to cover, a high level offense or a high level wide receiver. Offensively, I thought Evan Prater made some really, really nice throws when he had the chance to, especially in like 7-on-7 work. I felt that from the stuff that I've seen, I felt that he has progressed a good amount, especially on what I would consider like the longer throws, like 15 yards and more. I still think he kind of has to me, like kind of like a weird over the top where he holds on to it too long on the shorter throws and the ball kind of like nosedives. It seems like his shorter stuff is always like trending downward where when he knows he has to put some air on it, he kind of gets in that better posture and throws the ball better that way. But I still think, even from the spring, I think he's taken some nice strides. But
I thought he had a good day throwing the ball today.
Yeah.
Again, defense made things very difficult, but I thought he had a pretty good day throwing the ball today. Problem being they were in red zone, and when the defense is suffocating, red zone is a chore, man.
Yeah, and
there's just no space to I think like we saw that with Dez too at times, where red zone at times was a problem for him, especially when he was younger, when he was making more plays with his legs. Like there's you don't have those wide open spaces to make plays when you get into red zone.
I think too, like we've talked about the weapons and there's a lot of them, but like they still want to be a running team, and you're just not going to run the ball a ton in fall practice.
Right.
Like you're not going to put the wear and tear on your offensive, defensive line and your backs and tight ends where you're just going to, run the ball 56, something times in a practice. So it becomes harder to judge, especially red zone. Like that's a tough go when you're not going to be as multiple or as varied as you want to be.
Right. We did have a couple things that caught my eye today. One, Dylan O'Quinn and Joe Huber flipped today, meaning Dylan O'Quinn was back at right tackle and Joe Huber was at right guard, which is where they lined up for pretty much the entire spring. There is something of note that kind of changes things on the offensive line. And that is that my brain, dude, it's been a long day already. Cam Jones is in a boot. And it doesn't sound like it's going to be like a quick Cam Jones will be back in a week or two.
No, I mean,
go ahead.
It's the way that he was in the boot using like cart thing to roll around, like that typically means like something broken in your foot,
or like whatever. It's something in your foot that you're not.
My uncle just did was in a very similar situation and is still wearing the boot, walking. You're probably looking at a couple months.
I'm not ready to say that. Because I don't know specifically what the injury is.
I'm just, if you're immobilizing it and having like zero weight bearing, it's
I know, but I'm still not playing doctor.
I am.
I'm not. Okay. So that changes things, at least in terms of your confidence in depth. And if you're not as confident in depth at one position, what do you tend to do? You go to the safest bet. And I think the safest bet at right tackle right now is Dylan O'Quinn.
Like, do you think, and Brent was there the other night, and he asked me this, and granted, that was the first camp practice I've been to. Do you think Metz coming back from whatever he's coming back from, and maybe still not being like 100%, 100%? Do you think that is playing a part into like this whole thing with O'Quinn and Huber? Because, like, I'm just trying to understand.
Sure, he was.
I'm just trying to understand. Like, they were pretty good on the right side last year. Like, do we need to like move two guys to new positions? Is that like?
I think ultimately, like, and I think they're right. Like, Dylan O'Quinn is best suited inside, but he might also be your best option outside at the right. Like, those two things they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Right. I guess that's my thing. Is like, is O'Quinn at tackle and Metz at guard better than even if O'Quinn's a better guard? Are those two?
Well, I mean, I think if Metz was dialed back in, we wouldn't be seeing him with the 2s and 3s. Like today, he was with the 2s at right tackle. Like I think they're slowly working him back, but it's pretty clear that he hasn't been 100% yet.
Right. I guess. I mean, and also like still plenty of time.
Yeah, and I mean it's like with Ben. Like Ben hasn't thrown the past couple days. He's been out there. Like today, he was doing handoff stuff.
You got to vet days.
Yeah, but I don't think it's. I think it's.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I know.
You don't get vet days in a QB competition.
Yeah, I don't think there's like if there was a concern, he wouldn't be out there. But I think you're overly cautious, especially you're still 3.5 weeks from the opener.
Yeah, I mean it's just very interesting. Like, being that there is also an NFL team in town that obviously is getting a lot of attention because of going to the Super Bowl and all that. But like, there is a drastic. It's gotten even more of a gap in the way that NFL teams run training camp versus the way college teams run. Their preseason camps. Whereas like the Bengals literally, and Zach even talks about it, like we don't tackle. Our goal is to be as fine-tuned as we can be and as healthy as possible. And if this is the way we feel that needs to be done, then that's the way we need to be done. And like,
yeah, but there are NFL teams apparently that are a lot more physical.
Yes, there are. But you don't ever hear of a college team taking that approach.
Right.
And granted, the NFL has 3 preseason games and a roster. The setup is different. But like, of the nuts and bolts of it, you don't ever hear a college coach being like, yeah, we're really not going to. Well, actually, you did. You heard one. It was Navy 2 years ago during COVID.
Yep.
And they got their doors blown off the first game. And Ken Niumatalolo said, we probably should have tackled in camp.
Probably.
So it's just interesting that like, and so colleges are more physical in camp. And so at this stage, you're not going to put someone that's coming back from an injury in a situation that
they're doing it with Kiner. They're doing it with Ryan Montgomery. They're
right.
There are multiple situations across the board where they're being far better safe than sorry. Just because it doesn't make any sense. Like if Ben's not feeling right now for however minor it is, you don't have him go out there and jeopardize, what's to come for day 8 of camp.
Even with the red jersey on, you never know. I mean, you just there's no point in doing that. I mean, from Tuesday night I mean, it's hard to tell. Not a lot in the run game work that night. I really like the running backs. Miles didn't get a ton of totes.
Yeah, I think they're giving him a couple days because he had the first 6 days all to himself.
He was kind of the guy, and now they're easing Corey and Ryan Montgomery back in. I think, we'll see. Could be dead wrong. I think it's going to be hard to take carries away from Ryan Montgomery.
Depends on how good Kiner looks.
Yeah, I think he's
right.
He's kind of a known dude. We know how Luke, works when it comes to reliance and trust and things like that. Obviously, Corey didn't come here to not carry the ball.
He didn't come here to play school.
He didn't come here to play school, but, he hasn't really done much of anything since he's gotten here. I think Saturday will be interesting and more of a whatever they want to call a scrimmage type setting. How much they dedicate to just say lining up on the 20 and go and see, pick up first downs, call a game like you would call a game. We'll see if that's the way it goes or if it's still kind of like a pseudo scripted practice type thing. But I mean, if those two guys can stay healthy and then you add in Miles and Chuck and, even against kind of the threes, I've seen that Stephen Bird has kind of caught some attention. He scored kind of the last play Tuesday night on a 4th and 1 play. There's a lot of dudes, man. The receivers, I like a lot of the receivers. I think you and I both I'm big Chris Scott fans.
Yep. He's been getting a lot of run with the ones on the boundary. I
mean, if they're going to run, if they want to run the ball, he's going to be on the field. Bar none. If that's the way they want to go about it, and not that they're going to all of a sudden revert to 2018 Bearcats, considering they have 2 NFL tight ends and.
But I'll also say Chris Scott probably has the best hands on the team.
Yeah, he's
and
just not
right up there with the best route runners.
He's just not quite as fast.
Yeah,
but he's easily. I don't want to say that because Trey Tucker's really good too. He is the best blocking wide receiver on the team. I mean, that was
incorrect.
What?
Wyatt Fisher's the best blocking wide receiver on the team. He's just not going to. It's a tell. Okay. When you have Wyatt Fisher on the field, it is a tell.
It was also a tell last week or last year when Chris Scott was on the field.
Right. And Wyatt Fisher, same deal. When they put one of those two out there, they are running the ball.
But he did have a solid catch over the middle.
No, he's been very good.
Tuesday night. I mean, there's a lot of options. Nick Mardner smoked Jaquan Shepard on a go ball in 1-on-1s or 7-on. I don't even remember, but
one of them.
And Evan,
he smoked Sammy on one today too.
Evan had a couple real nice deep throws, especially there was one to Trey, kind of like Hood, like a full field all the way across route that he was able to get 1 foot. I think it was on the opposite side, but I think he got 1 foot in. It seemed like, and then he threw a really nice deep touchdown down the middle to Tyler Scott. So, I think things are coming along as you would hope from our vantage point. There hasn't, knock on wood, I don't think there's been any big debilitating injuries. Your usual camp stuff.
Cam Jones would be the one that you got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything else,
because you can say, oh, well, he's like a backup, but they're already a little loose at the tackle spot. That's not something that they feel super confident about. So, you don't, even whether it's a 1, 2, or 3, you don't really want to see anybody go down for an extended period of time, because then that just puts that much more, pressure on, nothing, not that you can control it, but
and what you feel like is developing depth is diminished, and
can't really have any more tackles get hurt.
Yeah, now you're back to moving stuff around and trying to plug this hole with that and with that with this. Yeah. The other offensive line thing today I thought was interesting, Dave. started to see quite a bit of Gavin Gerhardt at left guard.
Like with the ones?
Yeah. I think they have been super impressed with Gavin, the way he developed and grew into that backup center role.
He's a nasty dude.
And I think they want to give him a fair look. They want to give him a fair shot of, we don't want to have messed up your long-term development because we didn't have a backup center. And we made you our backup center because we had to have one, especially last year when Renfro was going through the hip stuff. Like, you were one play away from having no center.
Well, now you know he can play center, so why not play him some, like, okay, we know you can play center if we have to, but we're not just going to, have you sit on the sidelines all day because we don't need you to play center.
Right.
So let's see if you can, if you can do something else.
So I think they're giving him a fair shot to see if he can earn that left guard spot. And thought he looked pretty good today. That was the other big thing I wanted to get to. As far as just be careful, guys. JQ told me on Tuesday, watched the podcast last night, which means he's sitting in his dorm room right now, probably watching this. And I told him, don't watch today. Don't watch tonight.
He's sitting in the barracks.
Yeah, don't watch tonight because I'm going to have a lot of nice things to say, and I don't want you getting a little too big for your britches. Man, he was good today, Dave.
Was it in 7?
Mostly with the twos, but he's mixing with the ones. But again,
well, he drew the ire of Coach Fickle Tuesday night.
He did a little bit. He got excited. he made a clean hit.
It was clean, but it was also on a guy that was his first day
coming back from injury, right? I think that was instinct, baby. I think
on a screenplay that you're not really trying to blow your teammate up.
That was Tony Perez. CD ball, hit the ball. But the ones or twos at corner right now doesn't really matter because all those wide receivers are cycling and they're all really good. So that part, at least, I've talked about that a little bit as we've gotten to this point of camp. That part, at least, has been great for the wide receivers and the DBs because the DBs are kind of in the same boat. There's 4, 5, or 6 guys that are all kind of Bump and Sammy and Justin Harris and JQ and Shep and Arquan and that group is all kind of right there, rotating back and forth and in and out with each other, and the receivers are kind of doing the same thing. So there's not really a ones or twos from my perspective, because not because there's not a ones or twos, but because no matter who you where you're at, you're getting good work, and that's the goal of camp. That's iron sharpens iron. That's the whole deal.
Agree.
So yeah. Evan had hit Mardner on a deep ball today. Hit Trey Tucker on a touchdown pass in 1-on-1s. 7-on-7, hit Trey, an excellent throw to Trey on a slant in red zone. I think they were at the 16 or something. And Trey got up the field quick. Evan got it out quick. And there was no catching Trey when he gets a step on you and is able to turn upfield towards the end zone. Poor Ken Willis. I like Ken Willis a lot. I think he's going to be very good. He has more often than not been tasked with guarding Quincy Burrows. And that has not gone well for him. They threw a fade in 1-on-1 red zone today. And Ken Willis just big boyed him. I'm going up here, and there ain't a damn thing you can do to get this ball out of my hands. Lichtenberg hit touchdowns to Chris Scott and Drew Donnelly. I think Drew Donnelly's starting to look good again. We saw, remember last year, as we got towards that back half of camp, Drew Donnelly really started to get comfortable and emerge. You're starting to see him make some plays. it's a tough spot, man. There's just so many dudes. There's so many dudes in the wide receiver room. I've got Ivan. Ivan blew up a screen. Not surprising. Do you agree with my assessment that he's like a running back playing linebacker in the way that he plays? Like, he just knows how to slither through, how to hit the hole. You kind of talked about that, but like, it's like reverse, like just putting what a running back is good at and flipping it to the other side of the ball.
He seems to be a quick diagnoser.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's he's reading, you know, a lot of times they read the guard, you know. Again, you're practicing against the same guys now for over a week. There's only so many different things they can do, but it did stand out to me that he did make or was around the ball, was in the backfield pretty much, you know,
whenever he wanted.
Whenever he was in, he seemed to be making some sort of play. You know, I know you've got the dude of the day thing going, and Tuesday night, to me, it was him or Jowon Briggs.
Yeah, I gave it to Jowon eventually, but Ivan was right there.
Jowon just, whether it's at the 1, at the 0, I mean, I don't know how what they technically call it in the 3 down. His power just, I mean, and he's not slow off the ball. So like at 3, whatever he is, 310, 315, like his power against the center. I mean, there was one play where, I mean,
he took Renfro for a ride.
Been on skates, man. That old, you know, the old, you know, like had that guy on skate. I mean, he really just, it was ridiculous.
He's done that to Renfro a couple times. Like Renfro said today, like I'm doing my best to like hold my own against him, but every now and again he gets me, and when he gets you, you're done because he's so strong.
They just have like, and not that, you know, I wouldn't change anything from last year with what Majay being a disruptor and having to be accounted for and taking so much attention, but like just the power and the mass that they have with the down 3, and you know when they go 4,
yeah.
Well, it's either been Jaheim or Eric Phillips.
Yeah.
And they've had Jabari and Jowon inside with Phillips and Vann on the edge, or Vann and Jaheim on the edge if they do want to go with a little bit more of a quote unquote, you know,
speed
element, so to speak. You know, I'll be interested to watch a little bit more of Noah Potter Saturday. In that, want to see him more in that kind of a setting. You know, I
don't know if you noticed this or not. When on Tuesday, he plays a little upright.
He does, and I think he's just kind of like so far to me again one day. You can tell me that I'm wrong, or you can tell me I'm right. Like he seems to be a little straight line and just like bull rush and try to go about it that way, and he probably can win on that. But like, if he gets stonewalled, does he have like a second move off of that?
He made a play in the backfield today. We were commenting that like he's been a guy that hasn't flashed a ton yet. But he did flash a little bit today. You know, who else flashed a couple times today?
Let's see. I'm gonna say I don't know who. The Godfather.
Had a tackle for loss, had a sack, and talking to those O-line guys, you can't move him. You can't move him. Like, he might not be like Briggs, where he's taking you and driving you 6 yards back, but you can't move the Godfather. He just eats up all of the space. and you are not driving him downfield. And it's so like when you watch him run, when you watch him move.
Do you ever watch the Turtles? They didn't move Bebop either.
But in short area, he's quick.
Yeah, him and Shep too.
Yeah, Shep. I've noticed that with
Derrick Shepard is taller than I expected.
White, thicker, like strong. He's not.
I assumed his height was one of those exaggerated defensive lineman height, and if it was then, it doesn't feel that way now. I think he's every bit of like 6'2", 6'3". Seems to have like pretty long arms too.
Yeah, he does. I'll give you that.
I don't know if that's because he's
that's accurate.
Maybe he's thinned down a little bit. But
he's gotten big towards the end of his high school career. And not surprising, you spend 2 months with Brady, and all of a sudden, you start looking a lot better. I got to ask you your thoughts on. We're gonna have to talk to Brady about this. He's gonna be on the week after they come back from higher ground. Every day at lunch, you know what Brady eats?
Like the same thing every day?
The same thing every day.
Okay, so, I mean, a salad?
It's on the salad bar, both of the things. It's a combination.
Cottage cheese.
And
like eggs.
No. Applesauce.
Cottage cheese and applesauce?
He gets 3 scoops of cottage cheese and then slathers it in applesauce.
Okay. I mean, but that's all he eats every day?
It's one of the main. He says that's his dessert is cottage cheese and applesauce.
Okay.
How that's not super strange to you?
No, I mean, a lot of people like to put fruit on cottage cheese. So what's the difference in putting like applesauce versus
apples?
Or strawberry. I mean, I wouldn't, and it's not really my jam. I just like plain cottage cheese.
I don't like cottage cheese.
My wife puts crushed up Doritos on her cottage cheese.
I think I'd probably go applesauce before that.
But Doug wanted quick thoughts on Nick Mardner and Ryan Coe. Mardner, we touched on a little bit. Like, he's going to make plays just because he is kind of like weirdly sneaky fast. Like, he kind of around 20 yards, he just seems to like start gliding. And then he's also 6'6". If you like put it anywhere near him, he's going to come up with it. Ryan Coe had what you would consider like a rough night Tuesday. He was probably
I think the block got him.
Probably around like 50, 60%, which is
either
still
6 of 11 or 7 for 12.
Still better than last year. Dude has a leg. Like his good kicks were sailing over that tower that you see. I'm also petitioning him because he does have kind of like the mohawk, so to speak, haircut going. And he's a fairly big dude. Like he's not your.
Oh no,
he's not your like quintessential kicker that wears number 97 and
6'3", 227
and has glasses and like so he's got the mohawk. He's number 40. Like I'm gonna try to see if he'll switch numbers to 44, get a neck roll, and kind of take on the Brian Bosworth Oklahoma look. Maybe get like a headband on, headband going. But he's got a big leg.
Yeah.
So you just have a night like shit.
Well, and as we talked about last night on the nightcap, or 2 nights ago on the nightcap, Malik Vann blocked one of his first or second kick.
Third.
It was early. Third. Yeah, it was very early. And from then, I think it was in his head. Like, especially because, I mean, Malik could have laid down and waited at the holder's, like, point and just, like, given it one of these.
Yeah,
he didn't block it to where it,
standing under the goalpost, so I couldn't see it. Oh, yeah, it was one of those, like, shotgun blocks.
It went the other way.
It's going the other, like it hits their hand and sounds like a shotgun going off. Like, yeah, it was going the other way. It wasn't like a tip that ended up in the end zone or something.
To my knowledge, other than that, if you count today, he's 14 of 16 in camp.
I mean,
that's pretty good.
Just like, I mean, and I'm the wrong person to talk about this because I wouldn't kick ever. But like, just make it so that we have some confidence that if it's 4th and 10 from the 25, we have like a 70% chance of making the kick.
Right.
Like,
Instead
don't be 2 for
27.
11 from 40 yards, where we're having to go for it on 4th and 10 from the 30 because we're like, there's no way we're gonna make this. Which I would still go for it, but I know that's not how our coach is.
That's how your brain works.
That's right.
That's how your
Those kicker scholarships could be used for position players if I was in charge.
There's another freshman that sneakily has started to catch my eye with the third team fairly regularly. And I don't know if you saw anything from him on Tuesday night. Maybe now that I mention it, maybe it'll jump out on Saturday. But Jonathan Thompson with the threes has been making plays.
I did notice him just because I had to check to see like who was 22.
Because he probably did something good, and you're like, who's 22?
Just like, I was in my line of sight on the defense. I saw the linebacker. I saw 22. I'm like, I don't know who that is right now. Like, I'm not saying he made but he definitely didn't seem out of place or anything. So yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye Saturday. While the threes are going, it's usually when I
That's a lot more interesting now than it used to be.
When the threes are going is usually when Dan and I strike up some sort of off-topic conversation.
You and Dan, I think you and Dan have a bromance.
I mean, I think he really wants to go on this trip.
He's bad.
He came back to me like later on in the night. It was like, I can't stop thinking about Scotland.
Yeah, Dan wants to go to Scotland with Dave.
I'm like, you can go, man.
Like, you're gonna have to get content from that trip.
My one buddy, I told the guy that's going with me, and he goes, that means we're gonna have to do like a recap podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess we'll turn the BCJ pod into a golf podcast for one day.
I mean, it's gonna be in March?
May of 2024.
May. So, yeah, that's full.
Oh yeah, he was like, that's the best month for me to go too. So like, I think that helped him in his own mind be like, yeah, this is something I want to try to do because like the time of year works out for him.
And then he was kind of bribing you. He's kind of like, can I bring somebody? Like,
yeah, he's like, do you need a fourth? I was like, we'll see. Long way away, but it was funny.
What was your friend's initial reaction to, hey, do you mind if Dan Hoard goes with us?
Yeah, I said I think I might have a third for our trip, and he's like, cool, I got the radio voice for the Bengals and the Bearcats. And he was like, oh, that would be fun.
Oh boy. I might have to like send a camera crew.
I just want to see if Dan can hang.
Oh, I guarantee you he can. Because
me and my buddy are,
he used to hang with Hugs.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's a long trip with a lot of walking and a lot of golf. And I'm not even saying
Dan Hoard.
I'm not even saying I could hang that much, but
you might not be able to hang with you by that point in time.
Yeah, we don't play golf and then like go to bed.
No, so. I wouldn't anticipate that Dan does either.
No.
But the Dave Simone, Dan Hoard bro trip to Scotland to play golf somehow has to be content. I don't know how.
For sure.
Somehow.
For sure. We'll figure it out. We got 2 years little less than 2 years to come up with some ideas. So
I don't know, you got any more camp stuff? That's a lot of camp stuff tonight.
Is there anything you're I mean, I guess it's tough to say like we're looking for anything specific on. I'm looking to see like that's just the setup of the day. How much attention is more paid to running the ball, stuff like that. I just want to see because the defensive line has been, I think you can agree, has been pretty dominant.
The D line and linebackers, as we expected, have been.
So, like, are they going to let the offensive line kind of like just, for lack of a better term, like it's 4-minute drill. We're up 7. We got the ball. Let's end this game. Like, are they just going to have a series or two where they basically just try to big boy it and be like, we're going to run it. Let's see how it goes.
I think the question is, can the offensive line say enough of this shit?
Right, but I mean, like, you got to put them in a setting to do that too, and I don't think they've done that from a run game standpoint to this point.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's like they got it. Let's go.
You're right. Oh yeah,
like
for sure. It's on them.
Houston's got a good D line. Arkansas is going to have a good D line. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got. Higher ground, but question, curious. Asiago.
Cheese.
Very cheesy name.
Not
During recruitment.
a cheesy question.
No, cheesy name. During recruitment, how much of an asset emphasis put on higher ground, recruits and family visit higher ground, or no, that's not. I don't know that that's really something you want to bring up in the recruitment. Here's the place here's the place in the woods that we take you to.
Here's where you'll be sleeping your freshman year, which is like 30 bunk beds in a room with no air conditioning.
Right.
And they might have air conditioning. I'm just saying.
They have air conditioning.
For a fact.
Let's not do that to Chuck.
Speaking of questions, do we need to put out an APB for Tonk?
Where is Tonk? Like, yeah. Tonk.
I mean, it's kind of like do we need to do a wellness check?
We might need to do a wellness check. I might have upset him. Like, he sends me a lot of messages. Like, he's very good at sending me messages while I'm working, and he knows I'm working. And he'll like send me like a tweet or something, be like, "What do you think about this?" Or he sent me a tweet from like the dude that has gone viral, the Oklahoma TCU, like he was rapping or whatever.
Okay.
Like, do we have anybody that can do this?
Oh.
It's like, Tonk, I'm in the middle of a 17-hour day. Like I don't. Come on, brother.
I need to know from Jeffrey. Earlier, he said he eats berries and yogurt every night, and then he just said he had an Asiago on his omelet tonight. Did you just eat breakfast for dinner all the time?
And he had an omelet with Asiago, and at what time does he have berries and yogurt after you have an omelet with Asiago?
Does he do something where like he eats like dinner for breakfast and just does a full switch?
That would be interesting. Like have chicken wings at like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 7:30.
I asked Terrence something yesterday on the radio. I don't know if you heard.
I heard, and you're not going to like my answer.
I don't know that I would like it, but I would try it.
I don't even think I would, because like the wings.
You have to say what it is because nobody knows what you're talking about.
We're getting there. So somebody, I think it was actually Javon Hicks, retweeted a picture of instead of a seafood boil, it was a seafood boil, but without seafood. Instead, it had chicken wings. So like chicken wings,
here's
potatoes, corn.
So you're having boiled chicken wings?
Probably. I guess you would have to.
I'm out. I'm out on that. I mean, I just like a wing to me is supposed to be crispy and have sauce and like no, I'm not having a boiled chicken wing. Like it sounds like a boiled hot dog. Like
I mean, it looked pretty good.
I agree, Dave. I'm totally with Dave on this. No shot.
The picture itself looked pretty good.
I mean, I'm sure it looked good. I'm sure it probably even tastes good. But that's just not my thing. Like I can't imagine being like, usually you have shrimp and sausage in this, but I'm going to do chicken wings instead, and that's going to be better. Like, no, just do the thing that is good.
Boiling meat at the melting pot is pretty much where I draw the line. Like, I don't even thoroughly enjoy the melting pot. Like, give me the cheese.
So you don't want a fondue set for a gift for your daughter?
No.
I was going to get you one.
Give me the melted cheese. Give me the melted fudge at the end. But get me out of the boiled meat.
Yeah,
all the finest boiled meats and cheeses.
Yeah, that's just does not sound appealing to me.
Yeah, I didn't think I would necessarily. Like, I don't know.
And
I
like,
just, it
you
didn't-
know, on the scale of where I would want my chicken wings to taste like Old Bay, not high. Like
That's fair.
there's a lot of flavors I would rather have my chicken wings tasting than Old Bay.
Yeah, that's fair. Aaron, are you going to make it down Saturday? Did you get a hall pass?
TBD. There is a planned power outage here from 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Did you move to California?
Dude, I don't know what they're doing out here. It's AEP, and I don't know.
Like-
They're just shutting down. They're shutting down the grid in a planned shutdown for 8 hours. Like, I didn't know that we needed to have a generator for all these planned shutdowns. Like last time, it didn't even end when the scheduled end was supposed to be. So we'll see.
You're going to have to stay and talk for a minute. Hold on.
That sounds awful.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. What would you like me? What would you like me to talk about now, Aaron? You pick the topic.
I don't know. I mean, I guess like as I don't think this is enough to make a topic for the actual nightcap tonight, but in the Field of Dreams game right now, the Reds are getting spanked, go figure, and you have two terrible teams in the Field of Dreams game. Can you imagine a situation where you have a like just special game in like college football where you put two teams that are just absolute dog shit against each other in this like ultimate game? Like,
It was supposed to be like a special thing.
Yeah, this is
Like,
dumb.
I'll probably get crushed for this. One, I'm not like a huge baseball fan, although
Which is why I'm trying to bring it back into
right.
to Bearcats.
But like, I don't get the whole thing. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Field of Dreams. Like, I don't really understand like why there's all these people on Twitter geeking out over guys playing a baseball game in the middle of nowhere in Iowa. But like, no, like you would never be like, and the other part of that is like, why do you have to pick the teams a year ahead of time? Can't you just like be like, okay, these two teams are good. Guess what? You're going to play there, like, you know, in a month from now or something.
Right.
Like,
It shouldn't be decided the end of last year that, we're going to have these two teams that, oh, by the way, are going to have sold off every player that you're going to want to see because they don't care. Like,
it's I don't know. It's different because from college football. I mean, college football does this type of thing. Like they have the Chick-fil-A kickoff classic, which has been like a total snoozer for the last several years. I think Alabama beat the dog shit out of Miami, Florida last year in it, and I think Louisville played Ole Miss maybe 2 years ago. Or I don't even.
In that Alabama Miami game, wasn't the U supposed to be back?
Yeah, but even then, it's not. They're not like being like, all right, we're gonna take East Carolina, or even just take them from like a power conference. All right, it's gonna be Mississippi State
Against Rutgers
versus Minnesota, and we're gonna sell this to you as this like super incredible thing because they're playing, you know, in this historic football stadium that, you know.
Schedule wise, I think here is why. They didn't travel there until this morning.
Right, like they played. The only reason I know that is because I'm a Mets fan and I watched the Mets dog walk the shit out of the Braves or the Reds the last 3 days. They beat them so bad, I didn't even get to hear Edwin Diaz and Narco.
Chad, you can do these things called double headers. I'm sure they can move the schedule around to accommodate. Like,
yeah, but they also scheduled tomorrow. Like you never get a Friday off.
All right, here's an idea.
They scheduled tomorrow off.
I mean, I got an idea. Why don't you like? This is the thing that, I mean, we're not going to turn this into a baseball podcast, but like, why don't you turn the All-Star game into like an entire week, and then you have the All-Star game, and then like 2 days later you have this thing.
Because it's already starting too early in the year because you have snow in some places and ending too late in the year.
That's their own fault for caring that much about 162 games and records that were set, you know, how like the NFL seems to change their games and everything like every couple of years, and no one is going back and being like complaining that there's now 17 games and the records.
Did you hear my analogy today, Dave?
About baseball?
Yeah.
I did. I have a little bit of a different one, but still in kind of the same vein.
Yeah. My analogy is that baseball is like it's like a relationship, like a long-term relationship or a marriage. It's 6 months. You get off work every day. You come home. You have dinner. You put on your baseball game. You spend 3 hours in front of the TV watching your baseball team. You go to bed. You wake up the next day. You do it all over again for 6 months. That's a relationship. Like, that's commitment. That's like being a baseball fan is the hardest thing to do. Because like you have to really, that's why you're not a baseball fan, because you aren't going to commit to doing that every day. That's why that's your issue with baseball, right?
No, well, the Mets to me be interesting enough to keep my attention until football starts.
Right. So to me,
or be really, really damn good like this year, and then it'll continue to pay attention to you when football starts. But if you're just kind of like mediocre, or or even maybe like a fringe playoff team, I'm going to lose interest once football starts.
Football is like your party phase or your single phase, right? Like
here's the way I looked at it. Kind of like what you said, but a little bit different. Football is you're like when you're actually in college, kind of like you can call her girlfriend or whatever or boyfriend or whatever you want to call them. Like while you're in school, that's football. Like you got someone to hang out with when you want to, but like they're not getting in the way of you going out with your boys or your girls on a Friday, Saturday night and getting stupid. And they'll be there on Sunday for you. Like, when you come back, no one's getting jealous of each other.
Or they'll be there for you on Saturday night when you get home.
Right. Like no, you're not getting jealous of each other if for 2 weekends in a row they want to do something with their friends or whatever. And then baseball is like when you come home from summer break and you like rekindle something with maybe your high school girlfriend or someone from your school that and now you're kind of like linked up together or something, where for those 3 months, like here's the thing, like if your baseball team's doing great, baseball is awesome in the summer because like you want that next game. You're like, man, we've won 5 in a row. Now can we win 6 in a row?
The Mets have won like what, 15 of 17?
Yeah, so that's fun. So it's like, yeah, we come home for the summer. You got your 3 months at home for the summer or whatever, and you just go kind of like, have your good time, but there's no commitment. Like everybody knows that when they go back to school, that was just a fun thing we did on the summer, and now it's time to get back into like the real stuff with my boys or some new girl or boy that I found. Like that's the way I look at it. Like it's great if it's going good because you want that repetitiveness of it. And
but if you're a baseball fan, there's a chance your season, unless you're a fan of like the Yankees or the Dodgers or whatever,
right,
there's a decent chance your season is like just average, like just. You're dreading
that's the thing
that
like,
August evening, that August Wednesday, you have to come home and watch a 7:10 first pitch because you've already invested 4 months into this shit of a team that's like 8 games under 500.
Well, like that's what I like. To me, as someone who's not like a huge baseball fan, I'm not a huge NBA fan either. But like when the baseball had the shortened season because of COVID, and the
60-game season was awesome.
And the NBA had the shortened season because of the lockout the 1 year. Like, those were some of the most exciting seasons that I can remember.
Yeah.
Like, I just, like...
Because you didn't have to make the commitment.
How do you, like... And granted, chopping 40 games off or something isn't going to change a ton, but, like you said this year, and like, the Reds started, like, 2-23.
Yeah. Unless
you are just an absolute dire fan and baseball is your love and you don't care. Like literally 1 month into the season,
3-22.
The season was over.
Yeah.
Like it's over, man. Like it wasn't even Mother's Day. It wasn't even like the middle of May.
Right.
And the year is over. And like how are you supposed to keep people's interest when that happens? And yeah, I mean, I just think the season's way too long. I even think the NBA season's too long. Like, but
the reason it came up,
and it sucks. Like I make fun of them But like I feel bad for Red. Like I feel bad for the fans. Like I never want to see a team because it's total BS. Like you have plenty of money to have a competitive team. That doesn't mean you have plenty of money to win the World Series every year or sign whoever you want or make whatever trades you want. But if you have enough money to own a professional sports team, you have enough money to put a team on the field that is not going to possibly lose 100 games.
They spent $120 million on this team. I don't want to get into the Reds. That's why I was trying to steer it away and you like directed it back. The reason it came up was because Tony and Austin on Cincy 360, Tony Pike, of course, said basically today is the end of the Red season. Because tomorrow the Bengals start. Saturday is UC's first scrimmage. Like, and that's where I got to this. Like tonight, I'm breaking up with the Reds.
There's college football. There's college football in 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
Week 0 is in 2 weeks.
2 weeks from tonight, or 3 weeks from tonight, is the backyard brawl.
Yeah, but there's games the week before that.
Right.
Knowing that you would want to watch. But there is real ass, like, it matters college football in 2 weeks.
So I'm breaking up with the Reds tonight. Like, I still have to do radio. I got a whole week at the end of August, beginning of September. Like, I still have to do that stuff. But I'm breaking up with the Reds. I don't care. I don't care. I'm done with you. I was going to do it, like, maybe over a phone call. But after, like, having this game on in the background, I think I've decided that I'm going to do it over text. I'm just texting the Reds tonight.
I would just ghost them. They don't even deserve it.
Well, I've been trying that for, like, 3 weeks. And then they had this stupid Field of Dreams game tonight.
Well, just block their number. You can always unblock it if they give you a reason to.
You have to unblock it when spring training starts next year.
I assume they're not going to be good next year either.
I know, but you still.
I assume the Field of Dreams game is not going well. Is that what you're saying?
4-0 Cubs.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
5th inning or something along those lines.
But yeah, that's enough baseball talk.
Yeah, well, I kept trying to bring it back to football, and you kept talking baseball.
Yeah, yes, I mean it's wild that like everybody keeps saying it. I don't necessarily agree, but like Cincinnati is a baseball town, and they haven't been good in baseball for like 30 years. So how can you say it's a baseball But the Bengals have also never been like this good, and UC has never been this good at the same time.
At the same time, right?
The Reds are sucking. So like, you're real damn close to like, if they don't get this figured out, like it's about to not be a baseball town.
Yeah.
Like wait till it's going to be in the 70s tomorrow night. Like we make fun of preseason football. I think people are going to be a little surprised when they see how many people are at that game.
Yeah.
So do you want me to exit and re-enter? Because apparently, according to your survey thread that you put up, which I'm not really sure why.
Aaron and I had a talk about that last night.
You just kind of asked yourselves to step into that one. But apparently,
Jeez Louise.
Apparently the people like
love
realignment expert Dave.
Yeah, they love. Okay, let's see. Whoa. All right, now we're joined by realignment expert Dave Simone.
Guys, thanks for having me back.
Welcome back, Dave. It's always good to have you on the show.
Yeah.
You're a fan favorite. The people keep requesting Dave Simone as part of this podcast.
I'm honored.
We're going to need to work on like a costume change.
I know. Easily my favorite podcast to guest on.
We're going to need to work on a costume change.
I know. Well, we're going to have to let me be off screen a lot longer than the 3 seconds you just
of
did.
Of course. We're workshopping live on the fly. This is another thing. Like, people want this podcast to be professional. I refuse.
No. This is that's kind of like my this is a fan site. This is not NPR or even like The Athletic that has like some major money behind it and like real ass like big national level sponsors that anybody outside of Cincinnati has heard of. Like
I don't know how we can be any more professional than changing your name just now.
It's true.
He makes
I'm two people.
And that's wrong. It's Dave Simone is the realignment expert.
That's right.
David Simone is the co-host of this podcast.
You got a little. Should I start a second personal Twitter account that's like Dave realignment expert?
Yeah, you should. Yeah. You absolutely should.
See what kind of following I can get.
You only comment on realignment from
right.
that.
But
look, dude, if you started having fun with that and like made it like a parody account almost,
yeah,
like the West Virginias or like all those guys, you would have 50,000 followers in no time.
Because people probably Twitter search like conference or conference realignment all the time.
Yeah,
and if my name was literally just like conference realignment expert Dave Simone,
yeah, everybody would be on board. Everybody would be on board. We need to workshop this a little bit more.
But I think
there's something there.
I do want to start out with a quiz for you.
Okay.
The Big Ten signed their last rights deal 6 years ago.
Yes.
Do you know how much that was for?
Well, it was roughly $40 to $50 million a team at the time. 14 teams. So
I don't even know. I'll just
$750 million.
It's $440 million.
Just under $500 million.
6 years ago, and now they're going to get, give or take, $1 billion. Like, what value goes up more than live sports rights?
Nothing.
Like the SEC pay or ESPN paying like $330 million for the SEC is like a steal now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just wild that this stuff, and I don't know if there's a trickle down. Like I am not as thrilled about like ESPN being totally out of the Big Ten as it seems like some are. Until I know how much of the Big Ten Fox is taking. And I guess we won't know until they say, which they might never, like, does CBS and NBC want to play even more? Or is CBS cool with just, like, having the Mountain West on CBS Sports, which is a different thing than broadcast CBS. Like those aren't the same thing. So like, are they done with the Big Ten? Because if that's the case, then it's kind of ESPN and nobody. So like, why would they need, like, they couldn't be like, yeah, we'll give you this.
I think my question there is, and since you're the realignment expert, I'll aim this at you. Does ESPN decide, why don't we just get rid of the dead weight, make this one entity, and save ourselves a bunch of money over spending on two entities that really don't like differentiate that much?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, they've already got an exclusive deal with the SEC and an exclusive deal with the ACC. I think there is a better chance that Fox still wants to have a part of the Big 12. The
rumor is they don't.
That Fox doesn't?
Yeah,
I don't.
They've washed their hands of the Big 12.
The Big 12.
I thought you meant the Pac-12. Yeah.
No.
The rumor is Fox has washed their hands of the Pac-12.
Yeah, I can believe that. I mean, when they released the statement about introducing Brett Yormark as the commissioner, they got 3 people's comments, and one of them was an executive from Fox. Like, I don't think you're just like gonna get that person to. Because I'm sure they could have gotten a lot of people to give a 3-sentence thing about how great Brett Yormark is. They got Adam Silver to do it. And so, like, I don't think you're going to have him give a comment like that if there's still not some level of interest in them holding some of the conference's rights. And I think that's important because, like, I look at it from the Pac-12 standpoint, like, if Fox isn't going to be a part of the Pac-12 anymore, as of now, it seems unlikely that NBC or CBS is going to be a part of the Pac-12.
Right.
I'm just saying that by just observing. I don't think there's been anything official, non-official. Like, I just have not seen those two networks talked about when you read things about all of this stuff.
Right.
So it kind of leaves ESPN and what many believe will be some sort of streaming service. Why? Like, I hear people and smart people and people that follow this, like, say, like, this is good news for the Big 12 and the Pac-12. And I'm like, why? Like, who is ESPN bidding against? That exclusive
that's
window.
a concern.
That exclusive window opened and closed, which, I mean, I don't think that's a surprise. But, like, because ESPN would just be bidding against themselves.
Right.
So, you know, and according to the Pac-12, like, they want to take it to market. But now that the Big Ten is taking 3 networks, and I guess Turner could get involved, whatever. But now that the Big Ten has taken 3 networks, and 2 of those networks are paying like $350-ish million a year to broadcast the second in / third best game of the week.
Yeah. Like,
how much are they, if anything, are they going to pay for the leftover Pac-12? So what is different now from that exclusive window? Like, ESPN is still kind of bidding against themselves.
Yeah.
So they have holes in their content that they need to fill. But how much are they going to be willing to pay for that? And that's why I think it's important that the Big 12 still has another partner. Like, I think keeping Fox and having ESPN is crucial. Because why would ESPN then, if Fox isn't going to be involved at all for the Big 12, why is ESPN going to pay 2 other conferences that to basically be their exclusive media rights holder as well, when they already have deals with the biggest conference and then the ACC? Like, what time slots are those other 2 conferences going to get? Like, the SEC is basically going to be at 3:30 and 7:30 every week on ESPN, and ABC, outside of your random Clemson good game, which there's no one else good in the ACC, but they're still going to put Clemson on because they should. And I mean, that makes sense. But, like, I did not want the Big Ten to just totally detach themselves from ESPN. They needed to have something. But if I'm also,
instead they took the other 2 things that were possible.
Right. But also if I'm the ESPN, the offer, what the Big Ten wanted them to take, I would have told them to, like, literally go F yourself. Like, that was such a ridiculous deal that they were trying to get them to take.
I think they wanted out of the ESPN business.
They did. Well, it seems like they did, because and we can laugh about it, and I do think it's funny. Like, there does seem to be this, like, theory going around that they just
SEC, ESPN, Big Ten,
that they're
Fox.
just in the bag for the SEC, as if, like, if Ohio State's 12-0, they're, like, not going to talk about them on ESPN.
Right.
It's such a ridiculous paranoia thing that, like, people are talking about. Well, now that the Big Ten's not on ESPN, like, are they going to talk about them? If your teams are good, they can't not talk about you. Like,
right.
If Ohio State's the number 1 team in the country, you think they're just not going to talk about them on game day or college football live or whatever? Like, it's so absurd. But Kevin Warren.
But what I will say, though, is they can set a negative narrative even when they're talking about you.
But they've been doing that for.
Sure.
I mean, and that might be part of the reason they want to like go to Fox, who has Big Noon Kickoff and is trying to sell that. But
You think Game Day is going to actually go to Big Ten schools now, though? Because
they still have.
But not if ESPN has nothing to do with the Big Ten.
right, there's no reason.
I still think they could.
I don't think they will.
I think it'd be silly.
So if Michigan, Ohio State.
Why would you drive viewers to that game when you have rival games that you can travel to try and hype that game up? I think it'd be silly.
If Michigan, Ohio State is one versus 3 or 2,
they're going to go.
And Big Noon Kickoff is already there.
They've done that already.
And Alabama Auburn is 2 versus 7.
Well, that's not happening.
It's happened a million times before.
I just don't think they're going to like just totally not be involved.
If they don't have a penny invested in the Big Ten, they're not doing the Big Ten any favors.
I'm not saying they're doing them favors, but they're
bringing game day to the Big Ten when you don't have a Big Ten.
It's not a favor. They've had game day in Columbus 100, like literally, like probably 15
because they've had a partnership with the Big Ten for 40 years,
and they're really good all the time.
Yes, but it will be different. It will be different.
It'll be different, but I still don't think they're going to just like not do that.
No, I don't think they're going to not talk about them. I'm just saying the narrative will be a lot different.
Well, I mean, right. If we're being like Big Noon Kickoff's a better show anyway, if you're into like football and not,
you don't have to listen to crazy ass
all the nonsense that game days turned into. But like Kevin Warren coming from the Vikings has taken, it's weird. Like for a while, everything was on broadcast. Then it was like, nope, we got to get on cable. We got to get cable. And now it's turned back around to where it's like back on broadcast. And I mean, he's doing what the NFL did, and he's doing it. A lot of people have talked about how like when they were supposedly supposed to have their deal done in May, and then it didn't happen, that was Fox like telling them to like slow down. And I think it was the opposite. I think it was Kevin Warren telling the rest of the people in the Big Ten, like, this is dumb. We don't need to tie ourselves to like one or two things. Like, look what we did in the NFL. The playoffs are this like huge thing now where there's games on Fox, there's games on CBS, there's games on ESPN, ABC. And that's what I think is going to happen with the playoff is they're going to open that up and all of the different networks are going to bid on different elements. So you're going to have some playoff game here and some playoff game, which is the way it should be. Like you would never want one network to hold the entire playoff because they don't have to pay as much. So I'm a little, I'm not as bullish on the whole, like, ESPN being quote unquote of having more available or being more available is better for the Big 12. I'm not sure on that yet.
Yeah. Richard Smiley, thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. You know how to get your questions read around here. Join the show late. We'll forgive you this time. Should Luke go with the younger quarterback if the job is close? No. Go with the better. This isn't a rebuild year. We're not trying to get somebody reps. Yeah, I don't agree with that sentiment. You go with the guy that you think gives you the best chance to win at Arkansas. Dan, which I almost want to just start calling you realignment expert Dan Simone. Okay. Kind of like Levitard used to do with Tim Kirkchin. Somebody accidentally called him Tom one time, and his name was Tom. Oh, okay. Hey Tom, question for you. So Dan Simone might be your alter ego, better than Dave. Okay. Because people might be a little confused if it's Dan. If it's Dave, they're going to know it's just David Simone. Right. True. What are your thoughts on that, Dan? Sure. Okay, Dan. Yeah. Dan, can the Big 12 get $65 million a year? If they can,
then Brett Yormark is a way better commissioner than anyone could have possibly. And here's
It's probably
why.
going to start at 45 or 50. And
I don't think so.
You don't?
No. The 42.6 that they distributed this year is the highest number the Big 12 has ever given out. And that is all of the
Did
money.
you just point out that the Big Ten is going to double?
Yeah.
Double?
The Big Ten also
added.
I know. USC and UCLA.
The Big 12 has the Big 10 has been a premier entity for a long time with major brands.
It's Ohio State and the Chumps.
Those chumps are still popular.
I'm aware.
So, some of this is a total estimate. I think all these things that we see are somewhat educated guesses, but if you gave out 42.6 in everything, that's TV revenue, that's Big 12 championship game money,
NCAA
credits, that's bowl money, that's a conference basketball tournament that actually makes money, I'm assuming. Like, it's funny that you never hear Mike Oresco at their media day talk about the total money that they distributed to all the teams.
Yeah.
With, like you do in all the other leagues.
Sure.
But so, Bob Bowlesby made the comment, and I'm not sure that it's accurate, and it doesn't seem like it, but we don't actually know until there's a new TV deal. Like, he said Texas and Oklahoma were worth 50%. So what does that mean to where the TV money starts? So if they're worth 50%, are you starting the media part of this in the 20s? Are you starting it in the low 30s, if that's true? So then you're adding in all this other stuff. So I've always looked at it as if the first year of it can be the same as this year, then I think that would be pretty good. I have a hard time thinking that as much as we like the Bearcats and Houston and UCF and BYU and we're very bullish on the Big 12 from an on the field standpoint, and it's going to be fun and competitive, and the football is better and the basketball is better. I'm a little leery to just think that they're just all of a sudden going to get in the range of $40 to $50 million a year just from the TV part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other elements make it into the high 50s or possibly the 60s. So I'm kind of taking a very much wait and see approach, and a very much setting my expectations a little bit lower and then be pleasantly surprised than think that because these other leagues have seen this boom in just 6 years, like we just talked about. I mean, the thing doubled in 6 years. I don't see that same valuation for the Big 12 property. Because if it was, then they would open up their window and NBC would want to give them $200 million and CBS would want to give them $250 million. And, I'm not bullish on that big of a number.
Okay. Anything else? Dan Simone?
Someone asked about the Oregon president leaving. I don't think that has much to do with. I think it hurts the Pac-12. He's going to Northwestern to be their president. I don't think that's all of a sudden he's going to bring Oregon in, but he's the chair of the Pac-12 board. So this probably isn't an awesome time to be replacing that guy. And I'm just
the Pac-12 seems like they're going to go fairly heavy on a streaming deal. It seemed like the Big Ten is going to go somewhere with that. Like a lot of it was Amazon or Apple, and apparently one of them, I think, made a pretty darn good offer. Or it could be Peacock because of the NBC tie.
Yeah, Peacock would make sense.
I guess the other thing is just like there's been a lot of talk of like, does NBC's involvement help facilitate Notre Dame into the Big Ten? And I'm still of the side that NBC's involvement, I think, actually helped Notre Dame stay independent. Because they've been wanting something to basically give them like an extra reason for someone to watch NBC more.
Yeah, the interesting part there, of course, being Notre Dame's affiliation is with the ACC, and now the Big Ten and ESPN are no longer bedfellows.
Right.
I just think that part is in. I don't know what. I'm not smart. I'm not a conference realignment expert like yourself, Dan.
Right. I mean, not many people are. Takes years and years of practice.
Yeah. I'm going to love this bit. It's so good, especially now that UC's already in the Big 12 and we're still like doing this. I'm going to love it. But seriously, Dan, I don't know what that means, but it has to eventually mean something, right? Because like,
I look at it this way. The SEC does not want Notre Dame to join the Big Ten.
Of course not.
So from a playoff standpoint, Greg Sankey has become buddy-buddy with Jack Swarbrick. They were on the whole committee that tried to do the whole 12-team thing. The SEC is always going to do what's best for them, but also what keeps Notre Dame independent. Whatever the format
because that's what's best for them.
Right. Whatever the format of the playoff is, it's always going to have, or their goal is to always have Notre Dame have like a way in as an independent because they don't want them to join the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Notre Dame
take away the way in, they're out. Out.
Notre Dame does not want to play games in West Lafayette, Indiana, Champaign, Illinois, Iowa City, Iowa. Like, the mystique and the draw of Notre Dame is the independence, is that we're different, is that
we're going to play USC and Stanford and Michigan
and we're going to play
College
and we're going to play BYU in Vegas, and we're going to play this team in the Jets in the Giants Stadium, and we're going to play this team in Baltimore or Ireland. Like, all of that goes away when they join a conference. Once they
most of it, they're still going to have an out of conference schedule.
But I mean, like the mystique and the draw of them goes away.
Right.
Like they're not any different. Like, Ohio State plays cool out of conference games, but they also have to go to Maryland and Rutgers and
right.
So the playoff, I think, is always going to be is going to be advantageous to them. Like, I think that's one way that they might be forced to join a conference. If it's like you have to win your conference, or, if you're not in a conference, then you have to do the BYU thing, like where you have to finish in the top whatever.
Yeah.
Or they feel like they're at such a disadvantage from it, just a flat out dollar standpoint. And I think people would be pretty surprised at like how low their NBC deal currently is. I mean, I've heard it's as low as like $15-20 million a year. And that now
it's between 15, somewhere between 15 and 20, and closer to 15 than 20, I believe.
And now they're, they have their TV deals up in a couple of years. NBC has shown that they want to see. That's the other thing. NBC's showing that they want to be more in college football. To me, tells me that they're going to be more into Notre Dame.
Fair.
And
because they're doing this to bolster
Notre
their
Dame's
Dame
coverage.
content.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, as a standalone entity that Notre Dame was for 7 games out of the year, if you're not a Notre Dame fan or your team wasn't playing them, you had no reason to watch NBC.
Yeah.
So now Notre Dame has a good game and you're the Big Ten game after, you're going to probably watch NBC. You're going to watch some of that Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
If the CBS Big Ten game isn't something that you're interested in, if the Notre Dame game is better. And Jack Schwarber just makes comments that and we know these guys say what they need to say, but like, they've steadfastly been that their independence is important, and they have a sweetheart deal in the ACC, which they would have to buy their way out of the grant of rights and pay an exit fee. Now, I don't know how much that would be, but like,
it's not much for basketball and their Olympics.
But it would essentially be, unless it would essentially be lighting money on fire.
Yeah, they can do that though.
They can. I mean, they have the best fund. That's why their NBC deal being low doesn't really matter. Their fundraising is outstanding. Catholics, they do that thing well. But I've held to that idea that nothing that's happened has forced their hand yet, and I just don't see why in the next 2 years they would all of a sudden be like, we have to join the Big Ten. Like, we can't compete anymore. They're number 5 in the country with a guy that's never coached a game. Like, and he's recruiting his ass off. Like, none of these things are hurting them.
Right. Aaron wants to go with realignment expert Dan Simon.
I like that.
Dan Simon, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we give you, do we put some glasses on you? How do we gussy you up to be this?
Give me some hair.
I mean, are you willing to wear a wig?
Oh yeah, I'll wear a wig, glasses.
Please.
But it would be like a 80s rocker wig.
I don't care.
Oh, like a mullet?
No, just like some big hair.
I'm down with whatever. This is what we do here. We workshop stuff while we're live. Most people do this behind the scenes.
You know what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to get me on some radio show in another city. Like, hey, have you heard about realignment expert Dan Simon in Cincinnati?
What we need to do is get you on the radio in Cincinnati as realignment expert Dan Simon.
That's true. Because all of our members would know the joke, so it would be funny.
Right. And people that have loosely watched the BCJ pod might be like, that
looks an awful lot like Dave Simone.
Well, if you're on the radio, nobody's going to see you. They're just going to hear you. And they're going to be like, yeah, that sounds an awful lot like Dave Simone, but it's really realignment expert Dan Simon.
Would be funny.
Anything else you got tonight? Realignment expert Dan Simon.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
I don't have a ton else either. You want to preview a team?
Not really. No, I got a sick wife and a kid that I think is getting sick, so I'd rather not talk any more than we have to.
So this is also we're listening to our constituency if we do a shorter podcast tonight, right? Because they say they want shorter podcasts, which I just think is absurd.
I don't know. I think the shorter podcast people were outnumbered.
They were outnumbered because
they've certainly been outnumbered in this chat.
You guys love us going as long. Here's the thing, and Dave has talked about this a million times. I do want to discuss this before we get out of here.
Okay.
We don't go long just to go long. We're not doing. There's not a timer in front of us that I'm holding Dave's feet to the fire and saying, Dave, we are doing 2 hours tonight.
No, we go as long as the
content says.
The news requires.
Aaron, you've been on a podcast before that just abruptly stops at 1 hour. Like, if the content requires more than an hour, you continue to talk until you get to a point, and this is my philosophy on it. We continue to talk until we get to that point with Dave that I just got a few minutes ago of, got anything else? Nope.
Well, the whole point is it's a conversation, right? You don't just end a conversation because you hit an hour. Well, I gotta go. See ya.
Well, the other thing is like I listen to a ton. Like, are our podcasts the only ones that people listen like from beginning to end? Like, I listen to a ton of podcasts that I'm not necessarily interested in the entire discussion, but I want to hear like a certain part of it. So I fast forward or whatever until I get to that part.
That's why Timestamp Boy here is so important.
Yeah, today's timestamps are not. It's been a weird episode.
Yeah, there's a podcast I listened to today that is like 50-something minutes long, and the part I wanted to listen to was on the back half of it. So I just went to that.
Yeah, it is possible.
I mean, we appreciate everybody if you listen to the whole thing.
Sure.
That's great. And kind of like I said in the thread, like I don't expect every person to want to listen to everything or agree with everything I say. Like that's why we have multiple platforms and
hold on. We need thanks again to realignment expert Dan Simon. We appreciate you coming on. Very good to have you. And let's welcome back BCJ expert Dave Simone.
Hi guys.
Good to have you back, Dave.
Oh, thanks. Just had to go take care of a few things.
All right, now you don't have to listen to we don't expect you to listen to everything, and we don't expect you even all the written content. We were getting complaints at times that there's too much written content on Bearcat Journal now. There's never too much content.
YouTube bozos opened this up by even putting something like that on.
Not me. No, that was.
So he just did that on his own volition? Like,
we had talked about the survey thing. Not that he was going to start a thread and just
a survey
ask
thing
everybody.
Is a great idea. A thread turns into, I don't like this. I don't like this. You guys should do this more. You shouldn't do this. You should.
I was just looking for ideas of things to put on the survey.
Oh yeah, because that's all
I've got plenty of ideas now. Plenty of ideas now.
I got a ton of ideas. If we had a studio and
an extra $200,000 a year,
an actual ass budget,
right? If anybody wants to invest $200,000 a year, I'll name this damn thing your company.
No, your personal name.
Yeah, your name. SteveJohnson.com. We will name it that. If you got a nickname, that has worked in this space before, Peegs.com is named after Mike Pegram that owns the Indiana site. I will sell out faster than you can blink if it means we've got the money we need to do all the things that I want to do. You need to add more people. Well, I've only found these jackasses that are willing to work for basically free.
Yeah. Yes, we can have all the personalities you want. You want us to charge you $25 a month for your membership?
50? Do I hear 50? Do I hear 50? Do I hear 50?
I think that's a bit much.
I'll start doing a feet OnlyFans.
We're doing OnlyFans. I mean that Barstool chick's charging $30 for nothing.
Yeah. Not putting anything on there. And she had 800 subscribers instantly.
All that tells me are there just so many weirdos.
So many weirdos.
So let's I just don't care about $30.
I'll do Kelly's feet on OnlyFans. The problem is she's gonna want that money.
I mean, I have McDonald's chicken nugget big toes. I'm sure that'll fetch that'll fetch a little money on the site.
The ideas are great, but most of them just require more money than we have. We're not there yet. That's why we're trying. I love I want you guys to do this that requires more money. But if you don't do exactly what I want, I'm going to unsubscribe. Well, if you unsubscribe, we have less money, and I have to do less. I have to cut Aaron. I'm paying Aaron 14 cents an hour. I'll pay him 10 cents an hour if I have to. I'd like to pay him 25 cents an hour. We did have one other thing I wanted to get to. That's work related. Last year, going into college football season, Big Game Sooner named me at Chad Brendel the account to follow for Cincinnati information. This year, they have named you at Bearcat Journal the account to follow for UC information. I think that might be because last year they actually followed me and were like, I don't know about that. We might have got that one wrong.
The guy seems to not tweet about UC that often.
And so they were like, no, you should follow this account. And, Stu, our guy Stu Gilchrist, wanted to try to start a fight and be like, what do you think about this, Chad? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I pay him for. I pay Dave. I literally pay most of what I pay Dave strictly to run the best Cincinnati Bearcats Twitter account that's not affiliated with the University of Cincinnati. That's what I pay you for. Congratulations. Great job on doing your job.
It's still better than anything that is affiliated.
That's neither here nor there.
I'm just allowed to say things that they're not.
That's neither here nor there. But
yes,
congratulations.
It's quite
I'm not upset about this. I love this.
I'm not only a realignment expert, now I am also apparently
You're not a realignment expert. Our realignment expert's name is Dan Simon.
It's like a Clark Kent Superman type situation. I mean, obviously.
But
most people that meet me fashion me as like a Superman Clark Kent type person.
Yeah. There's Dave before he's had jello shots. And then there's Dave after he's had jello shots.
Look at that. A new person every day figures it out. This is a running joke with Chad and I. I have been running the Twitter account for 5 years?
2016. When I took over, the first thing I said was, I can't be me in two places. It doesn't make any sense for me to run the Bearcat Journal Twitter account.
Right.
I want you to run it, and I will pay you to do it. And you were like, deal. And
literally, every so often, someone will be in the mentions and be talking to you, and I'm like, this ain't him, man. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. But yeah,
I will maybe once a month, because I do have access to the Bearcat Journal Twitter account. I own it. It's connected to my email. It is my Twitter account, but I have Dave run it. So I do have access to it, and accidentally once a month or so, I will tweet from that account and mean to be tweeting from my account. But you run the Twitter account. That's you. It's not me, it's you.
Correct.
I know you're just a newbie, Joffrey.
But yes, you're not the first, and you won't be the last. I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone else listening to this tonight that is like, wait a second, that's not Chad.
You both come off the same.
And I'm not trying to get into fights with anybody, but I am a jackass and a smart ass.
Yeah, you're a smart ass. You're not directly picking fights with all the people that say dumb shit in your mentions.
No, I don't actually respond to anyone almost anyone that's in our mention.
Right. I respond almost exclusively to people that are in my mentions. You will instead go after John Wilner or Stuart Mandel or the people that need to be responded to. That is your lane. I don't really do that. Whatever. I'll mess around. I almost sent something to Stuart Mandel today.
No, because most of the stuff in the Bearcat Journal mentions are just I'm not starting a conversation because I know it'll never end. That's the one that frustrates me the most is when I tweet something out and two people get into an argument in the mentions and keep
adding me, and I'm like, I'm not a part of this. Like,
I didn't do this.
like I'm not in this conversation. Like, don't keep including me. But yeah, it's like if someone asks a question that is like not my opinion, I don't give I very rarely will respond giving my opinion. If it's more of like an informational thing,
Sure.
then I will respond and then I'll retweet it because maybe it might be something that other people are looking for that answer to. But yeah, I mean, I have a personal account. I very rarely talk about UC on it because
You're about to have a burner realignment account.
I know.
Too.
Because
Dan Simon.
I have same way that you didn't want to run the Bearcat Journal one. Like, I don't need to talk about UC on my personal one because I can pretty much say whatever I want about UC on this one.
Yeah. You talk about golf a lot on your personal one.
A lot of golf, a lot of Bengals.
Yeah.
And then
if you've got something to say about UC that you don't want to say on the BCJ.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing is most people know that yeah. I haven't done that. I haven't done that in a couple of years. That was more.
I know, but I used to have Dave chill.
It was more of a basketball thing.
It was, for many reasons that we won't get into. All right, I think we're good. I did just want to touch on those couple of things.
Yeah, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at David and Simone.
There you go. That's if you want Dave's personal thoughts. David and Simone.
It's in the description of all the YouTube pages that I've done all of the fine-tuned timestamps on.
You're getting so good at this, Aaron.
I'm trying, man.
You really are becoming the best producer in the city.
No, something like that.
And not self-proclaimed. Like other people are saying it. Mainly just me and realignment expert Dan Simon. But that's typically it. Dave hasn't said it yet.
Said what?
That Aaron's the best producer in the city.
What is he?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I don't have a lot of experience with any other producers.
I don't know that there's another podcast in the city that actually has a dedicated producer.
Probably not. Maybe
except for Ed.
He should probably use that to his advantage. Did you hear that, Aaron?
He's already labeled himself the executive producer of this YouTube page.
Gonna get that 25 cents after all.
Yeah, that's right.
Proud of you, boy. Proud of you. All right, let's get out of here. That's a wrap. For Dave Simone, for realignment expert Dan Simon, for producer extraordinaire Aaron Smith, I'm Chad Brendel. We'll see you next week. It's the BCJ podcast. Special guest next week. We'll get to that. It's the BCJ podcast.
There is.
Presented by the Holy Grail.
Wednesday night next week.
Wednesday night. See you there.